So people tell me all the time that Overwatch is dead. People say that no one plays Overwatch anymore. Well, here is a game that is very similar to Overwatch, called Crucible. How many players does Crucible have right now? Well, one match of Overwatch is 12 players. So that means the entire player base of Crucible is slightly above Overwatch's. Yes, and at the 24-hour peak, that's slightly over two matches, concurrent matches. And Crucible is only on the PC. Overwatch is on the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Yep, that's it. This is supposed to be the Overwatch killer. Okay? It was supposed to be the Valorant killer, which is another similar game to Overwatch. Where Valorant was really trying to kill off CSGO, which it failed because you can never kill off Val. Val will only come back stronger, like of TF2. Because this is Team Fortress 2. Let's go to Team Fortress 2. I still wish they would fix that on this site. Here is Team Fortress 2's player base, for example. This is the player base of TF2 for the whole time that Steam has been around. This is the player base of TF2. TF2's player base has actually expanded since its original launch in July of 2012. But again, TF2 is a free game, having the highest player base it has ever had in history. Despite the game being 13 years old. Okay, and we'll get to Avengers, another game that is completely failing, a newer game. Okay, here. Yeah, they don't really track Overwatch's player base either. Here's Avengers, another one of the games that we talked about. Avengers was nothing but a big, massive failure. It dropped below 900 players here as well. And here's another game I like comparing Avengers to. Doki Doki, that, garbage game that weeaboos love. Well, Doki Doki has slightly a higher player base than Avengers. Okay? That's telling you something how low Avengers player base is. And yeah, this is Doki Doki's player base. It has reached... And this is a game where you can buy it for free. You don't have to pay a single cent to play this game. Okay? Okay, let's see another popular game, Terraria. Let's see how popular Terraria is. Well, it's definitely how much higher than Crucible is. It actually has Terraria's player base has actually continued to drop off because it had its final updates. So yeah, people are getting bored of the game and leaving. And yeah, Terraria doesn't have any more updates. I expect the game to slowly decline because there's no new updates for the game. And yeah, that usually happens when there's no updates for a game. They don't update a game anymore. People don't play it anymore. And Terraria, I bet they're gonna make a Terraria 2 or something. Or even Halo. People said that nobody plays Halo on a PC anymore. Well, it's still way higher than Crucible's 13 players. Halo has way more players than Crucible here. And Halo's player base is probably going to stay around the same as well. Because Halo 1 for 4, no Halo 1 for 3, the classics are already there. You can already play the classic Halo games on PC. So yeah, there we go. Halo Master Chief Collection. Yo. And yeah, let's just go on. Another, even Fall Guys. Fall Guys. Let's see. Fall Guys. Oh, Fall Guys player base has declined since Season 2. Yeah, Fall Guys is still dying. Let's look at the most played Steam games. Shall we? So we're going to go into the most played Steam games of all time. So, the most played game on Steam is Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which, again, Valorant couldn't kill. Phasmophobia is being played a lot because it's a horror game and it's Halloween. Baldur's Gate 3, another newer game. Here, I wouldn't be surprised if Game Theory made a theory about this game. Phasmophobia sounds like like Luigi's Mansion. That's what it reminds me of, but it's more for older people. A horror game. Raft. That's another new game. FIFA 21 on Steam. Again, that is the first FIFA game on Steam, so that's understandable that FIFA 21 has a big player base at the beginning. But you look at here, there's a lot of games that are pretty well played on Steam. Some pretty old games as well, such as Stellaris, Red Dead Redemption 2, The Witcher 3, Conan Exiles, surprised that's played a lot. No Man's Sky even has more player base than Crucible. And No Man's Sky is considered one of the worst games of all time, according to, well, not one of the worst games, one of the biggest disappointments of all time. But still has a way higher, but it's still way more active. Also, RuneScape that's released on Steam as well. Also has way higher player base on, yeah, on, than, even No Man's Sky is more alive than Crucible. Borderlands 3, Fallout 76. Even Fallout 76, another game that is hated by the game community, including myself. Maybe I might return to that game someday. Mr. Mine, that's like a Minecraft clone. Imagine if they released Minecraft on Steam. Imagine how big that would be. Horizon Zero Dawn, Star Wars, that declined a lot. Yakuza 0. Assassin's Creed. Battlefield 4. Titanfall 2. Metal Gear Solid 5. The Phantom Pain. 2 Point Hospital. Some other smaller games, indie games here. Dragon Ball FighterZ. And yeah, I can go down to 1,000 players. All these games have more players than Crucible. As well. Maple Story has more players than Crucible. Battlefield 5. Space Crew. Sounds like a ripoff of Among Us. Astro Neo. We have Eternal Return, Black Survival. We even have ports to more games like Fallout Shelter. Slime Rancher even has more players than Crucible. Mad Max. And yeah, Half-Life Alyx. Battlefield 1. Cuphead. No one plays Cuphead. That's surprising. It is a single player game. Most people who played Cuphead played it once and completed it once as well. Assassin's Creed Syndicate. That's an old Assassin's Creed game. Again, Cuphead is a pretty well received game. Raven's Cry. The Survivalists. Professor Farmageddon and Cops. Okay, all of these games have more players than Crucible. Then this game that nobody is playing, Assassin's Creed 2. A lot of more classic games are now further down the list. Even though they don't have a lot of players, they're still considered classic games like Assassin's Creed 2. Far Cry 3, that's another game. It's still considered one of the best in the series. Dishonored. A lot of older games are way lower on the list. Half-Life. Well, for example, Half-Life doesn't really have a big player base. But Half-Life is considered a classic game made by Valve as well. Watch Dogs 2, Marvel Puzzle Quest. Here, all these games still have more players than Crucible. Borderlands Game of the Year Remastered. Here, as well. We have Carry On. We have 7 Co-op. Supreme Commander 2 has more players than freaking Crucible. Sonic Adventure 2, that's a 12... Crucible just came out this year. It's being outplayed by freaking Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic Adventure 2 came out 20 years ago. And it's out. Half-Life also as well. Half-Life also as well. Okay? 10-year-old games have more players than Crucible. 20-year-old games. Resident Evil 3, that is probably the new version, not the old one. Life is Strange, that's a 5... Yeah, we've seen like 5 10-year-old games have more players than Crash Bandicoot has more players. That's Crash Bandicoot. That's a very old game. Crash Bandicoot. That's a very, very, very old game. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Not surprised that no one's playing that. Need for Speed. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot's a single player game as well. But you get my point here. All these games have more players than Crucible. More player base than Crucible. Have a better active player base than the game. Okay? I just imagine Minecraft ever releases on Steam. I'm surprised they never released Battle Z on Steam. Never, I'm surprised. Though they have Dragon Ball, Heroes World Missing, Xenoverse that has more players than Steam than Crucible. That's another online game. Xenoverse 1. And Xenoverse 1, that's an old game too. Xenoverse 1's an old game. Of course, that's Japan. It was on Japan on Steam. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, Dragon Ball FighterZ, even Kakarot has more players. Even Dragon Ball Heroes World Missing has a larger player base than freaking Crucible. Okay, Five Nights at Freddy's. Everybody's least favorite franchise. All the games except for Free have a higher player base than Crucible. That is just sad when you see FNAF outselling having more players than you. When you see some of the worst franchises having more players than your game. A multiplayer game, mind you, that is basically, yeah. I wonder the only people who are playing Crucible are probably just the developers at this point, because no one in the right mind is going to return back to Crucible and say, oh yeah, remember Crucible? That amazing game on the PC? Said no one ever. No one likes Crucible, okay? No one cares about Crucible. You know, Bubsy, Wiki out for Bubsy's player bases. The only game with 0 players is Bubsy, because nobody likes Bubsy anyways. But most of the big games have more players than Crucible. They do have a Sony. PlayStation has a player count for Overwatch. Okay, so 350,000 people have returned to Overwatch last month. Well, that is far more than the tiny amount of people that have returned to Crucible in 1 month. And yeah, this is Overwatch's player base. Here. Overwatch's player count is at 14.4 million. Okay. The game's sales are steady. This includes physical and digital copies. But the sales were steady. Because Overwatch was actually a successful game, unlike Crucible, a game that no one plays. According to this site, there's around 700,000 to 800,000 people playing Overwatch. You can't really trust this site, but if this is true, that's far more. That's far more than Crucible's player base. Far more. Okay? Far more. Here? Yeah, you don't really see much about Overwatch's player count, so that's why people assume that Overwatch is dead. And here's Overwatch's player count. It kept going up and up and up. It has around 50 million accounts. Okay? Crucible barely had 10,000 at once. Okay? And there we go. That is the death of Crucible. A game that came out, nobody cared about it, and no one bought it. It's a shame that a game like Crucible basically will become forgotten to the gaming textbook example of a failure. It will not be remembered by anybody. Don't at all. I bet in a year, I probably would forget that I even talked about this game. Crucible is just like another game called Battleborn. Yeah. Which Battleborn is supposed to shut down next year. Even that game still had a higher player base in 2018 than Crucible. It's just so to say that even Battleborn, a horrible game that nobody bought, still has a higher player base than Crucible. That's basically it. Goodbye.